You're watching Spotlight, a production of Culture in Maine, York's cultural showcase. I'm Carla Christopher, poet, publisher, and producer. Join me, along with editor, musical guru, and video extraordinaire Jay Schmuck, plus wild outdoorsman and videographer, along with technical extraordinaire Cliff Kern, and all of our friends as we go behind the scenes and get into the underground of what's really going on in the arts and cultural amazing explorations that are happening in South Central Pennsylvania. You'll see everything from art to music to dance to theater, and you'll also get to meet the people who really make it happen, find out how and why. Along with some great studio performances, some amazing on-the-street footage. You'll also get the real story, and that's what we're here to shine a spotlight. Let's go.
With them,
I'm with them.
and he just reiterates everything they say. Yeah, his name is actually with them.
First name with, second name them.
for days, caught between what I mean, tired old cliches. And only if I was to know what I would come to learn in time, I think I got my finger on it. Love is like a sonnet that you can't portray right. Her eyes were warm, her words were grace, a touch of calm, familiar place. She said, I would want for nothing should you play me something sweet and sad. And I cannot think of fonder when in my mind I wander. Tell me, did you want it so bad? Tell me, did you want it so bad? Tell me, did you want it so bad? Thank you.
Ave Maria, obviously. It's
Yeah.
like the holy grail.
Pete Lindsay, Silent Wagon. Amazing opportunities they give people. Probably inspired by Mike a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh
So,
yeah.
you played the cap. You have a favorite cap story?
Favorite cap story?
There's one that I'm not
I'm
gonna
allowed
say.
to document that on video.
Do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. Ooh, ooh. Been a real long night, and you look just right. My baby keeps rocking, and I keep her boots knocking. Do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. Ooh, ooh. I'll take you home tonight and make you feel alright. It's a low, low light and it's passing round. Ooh, ooh. On the sky, kite flying high across the dawn, and you won't stop grinning, and it's turning me on. Do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. Ooh, ooh. I'll take you home tonight and make you feel alright. Now I'm your firelight, baby, what you got cooking on your cover when, baby, it's cold outside. Home tonight, it's 12 past, baby, and it's cold tonight. So I'm gonna make you my baby. Do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. Do you feel alright? Been a real long night, and you look just right. My baby keeps me rocking and I keep the boots knocking. Do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. Do you feel alright? I'll take you home tonight and make you feel alright. Quiet as the night is lonely and it keeps on falling. And I'm lonely as the night is long, baby, I don't mind. And you don't stop, and you roll me, and you rock me. And my baby give me love like it should be. Hold me inside, mama, please tell me, do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. Real long night, and you look just right. My baby keeps rocking and I keep boots knocking. Do you feel alright, baby? Let's get down. I'll take you home tonight and make you feel alright. Thanks very much.
Hey, thanks. Cheers, Mike.
And then Canto played every Monday night for like 7 years. Or something like that. 6 years.
We love you.
We love you.
We're here with my next guest, one of our favorites. He was here once before and now is back with a whole new slew of exciting literary adventures. The incomparable and incredibly prolific author, John Yamrus. Now, welcome back.
Hi, thanks
to
for having me
Culture
back.
in Maine. I'm super excited that you have not just decided to keep writing, as just seems to define you. I mean, the words just pour out of you, which my envy is incomparable. But you took a really new spin in creating a very new and different project this time around.
It's funny. I'm 66, and you would think at this point in my life I would not be open to taking risks. And this book, for me, was a bit of a risk. People are just used to my books having maybe an occasional bit of artwork or illustrations in it. But I partnered with a fantastic Swedish illustrator, Jan Carlson.
No.
And we seemed to hit it off. And we put together this book which, using his artwork, we tried to find new nuances and new meanings and new edges to my poems, and I think it's worked. But I enjoy taking a risk, and I don't know if it works or not. That's up to the reader to decide. But if I'm not taking risks, I'm not happy, and that's the way I feel it should be.
Well, so now that you have hit an age of having seen enough to be able to make some wisdom imparting judgments about the world, we'll say in the golden fruition
In my
of
dotage.
time. Never. What's the secret? What keeps you feeling happy and optimistic and willing to take creative risks? Because that risk taking is something that I think a lot of artists really struggle with. You know, we get stuck in what sells, or what we feel like people want, or what we're told by a publisher or an agent that we want. I mean, how have you made a space in your work for such freedom?
I don't know. I think it's just a personal choice you make. A little bit of an aside. Miles Davis once fired one of his band members because he caught him rehearsing.
Oh.
He said, I want you to take risks and take those risks on stage. And that's kind of what I want to do. I want to take risks. I want to wake up every morning with my work, and I'll talk about that in a bit, and try something new every day. I don't want to be afraid to make a mistake, to fall flat on my face. I don't want to play safe.
Have you always been that way?
I think the older I've got, the better I've got at that. You know, you don't care as much.
Really? So
I mean, care as much to make a mistake.
Huh. I mean, that's definitely true. As the older that I've gotten, the more I've realized it's just not all that serious.
Yeah.
I took myself much more seriously when I was younger.
That's quite true. Yeah, I take the work very seriously. I don't take myself seriously, and it's tough to divide yourself into those two.
So, who are you separate from the work?
Who am I separate from the work?
When it's so personal. When the work becomes so personal, I've noticed some artists create, alter egos when they perform.
Oh
or when
no!
they write,
This is what you see is what you get in the books. There's that's just me, and that's for me. That's the risk. That's the chance, and that's also the goal. Just to be yourself. A tough thing for aspiring writers to do is develop a voice. Of course, you start out trying to write and sound like somebody else, and some people never get past that point. The toughest thing to do is develop a voice. If you hear Miles Davis or you hear B.B. King, you know
true.
Immediately.
Instantly.
Carlos Santana, you know who you're
That's
listening to. Same thing with writers. Some writers, you read them and you know who you're reading. And
That's true. So do you feel like you have found your voice, or has it changed over the course of time?
that's also a good question. I'd say my last, and I've published 27 books over the years.
Which is amazing to me.
You. I'd say the last 14, 15 books I've felt comfortable with my own voice as a writer, with what I'm doing. And as I've progressed, I don't feel I need to say as much. I've learned to get the reader involved, to get onto their side of the page. And the more I can get them involved, the easier it is for me as a communicator
Sure.
to get the poems and the meanings across. And the poems mean a whole lot more when you have them come to the conclusion that you want to have them reach.
That's true. That's true. I know I struggle with this myself because I perform and I write as a poet in a lot of different types of spaces. So I'm working in faith communities, and I'm writing poetry that has almost a more biblical feel to it, because it's from a very particular perspective. But then if I'm doing spoken word in a spoken word venue, that piece is being written more for performance. And then when I'm writing for the page, I have a much more traditional poetic style, and trying to find a consistent voice across different genres and in different spaces has been something that I've really had to work for over the years. And I think now at this point, when people hear a piece that's mine, they're like, okay, you know, that might be a little different than some other piece, but I still hear you in it.
Hear you, yeah.
But it definitely was a long time coming, and I think that's what intrigued me so much about this new book, is that from previous things of yours that I've read, the poems had a different feel. Some of them were shorter or more playful, the pairing of them with the artwork. And yet it was still very much you. I could see, you know, this is a John poem. And so I was very curious to hear more about your voice and your discovery of your style, and how you can stay true to yourself but constantly find ways to make it new and keep finding inspiration for new books without feeling like you are repeating yourself. I mean, where does the continued inspiration come from to keep your own voice now that you've found it, but to be pushing your boundaries and be brave and be bold and pioneering at the same time?
You wake up in the morning, you walk out the door, and if you can't find something to write about, then you shouldn't be writing.
So you're not one that sits at the desk for hours
waiting for
up the
inspiration.
paper
No,
flinging.
no. Inspiration's always there, and it's just a matter of like an athlete. You have to get in shape. You have to tune the instrument. You have to know what you're doing with the basics. But once you've got that down, man, it's hit the road and run.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Nike style writing.
Nike style. I was never I was never one of those writers that sweated and bled over one word, who would say, well, I've been working on this poem for 3 months. I'd rather have something go out with a word wrong here or there. It still bothers me, but I'd rather get it done and move on to the next thing.
So tell me about As Real as Rain, because this is our brand new adventure.
As Real as Rain started out, it was a reading I gave in Edmonton, Canada, going on 3 years ago. And the reading, for some reason, has taken on a bit of a life of its own. There were people who weren't there who heard about the reading that night, and my publishers heard from people, and finally said he wanted to put together something to not commemorate, that sounds too pedestal-like, but put together to take off from that night. And we took the 46 poems I read over the course of the 2 sets, transcribed them in order, put them together in a book, and in fact the introduction for the book is the introduction as my publisher introduced me that night. And we started, those 46 poems were the basis for the book, and then we had our friend Jan Carlson illustrate them, and it was his task, and he lived up to it, to try to find new nuances and meanings in each poem to give the reader the experience of what it was like to be there that night. And whether it worked or not, the reader will have to tell, but that was the goal.
I love it. Well, I'm excited. I would like to hear some of this incredible new work. And I know that we have some of the artwork as well. So why don't you join me, fearless listeners, and let's experience a bit of life when it's as real as rain.
All right, I'd like to read 3 pieces from the new book. The new book is called As Real as Rain. In dog obedience class, for once, my little Abby did everything right. For once, she didn't bite, jump, or pull. This time, she paid attention and sat and stayed and came and listened just like all the other dogs. I can't tell you how much I hated that. Second one. I want to tell you a story. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was living through World War II, but members of Uncle Joe's generation always seemed to see themselves as part of a collective, a group. It was never I or me. It was always we or us. Now Uncle Joe, he was a storyteller, all right. He'd tell us stories about high school and his 2 favorite teachers. He named them Chisel Chin and Hatchet Face. He told stories about the war and serving in the same group as Clark Gable. So, a couple of years ago, at a family reunion, Uncle Joe was swapping stories with Uncle Leonard. Uncle Leonard talked about his aircraft carrier getting hit by a kamikaze. And these days with computers, someone went downstairs and actually found a combat photo of that plane just before it hit that ship. And there they were, these 2 old men. When they saw that picture, with the plane slicing down through the sky, they stood up and were once again young and tall and strong. I saw them at their finest, and I'll never forget that moment as long as I live. Another very short one. I'll tell you one thing for certain. I've got a lot more yesterdays than tomorrows. And the only good thing about that is they all were spent with you. Anyone who has any interest in finding out more about my books and my work and future works, you can find out. Go to johnyamrus.com or go to my publisher's website, epicwrites.org.
Every calf story is a great story.
I've known Mike for almost 30 years, and this is some like Axe night. We all love Mike, and we wish him the best, and hope that this will make him smile a little bit.
say about Mike. He's one of my dearest friends. I love you, Mike. Thank you for everything. And, I love you. Everybody does. And I love you. Mwah.
So the top 3 bars in York, the Cap, and
I'd say the Cap.
Our next guest is one of the most inspirational stories I have ever encountered. His name is Alfredo Rivera, and you might spot him at Mi Calderos or around town at one of the festivals, just engaging and being warm and reaching out and greeting friends. And then you start talking to Alfredo, and the first thing he'll share with you is the incredible work that he is doing with his own project, Immigrant Camera, which you can find at immigrantcamera.com. It's not just about Alfredo's story. It's about the unheard, unseen, and untold stories of some of our most vulnerable citizens across the region. So for his bravery and for his creativity as well, I'm super excited that we get to learn more about the work of Alfredo here on Culture in Maine. I am so honored.
Thank you.
So honored that you could come on the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
For people that have not had the chance to visit immigrantcamera.com, what exactly is Immigrant Camera?
Immigrant Camera is a project that is still building itself. I'm still working on that. It's a project that I'm working on telling stories about immigrants around the York area right now. So the main thing is to tell the human stories behind all of the immigrants. Why did they came here? What is the reason they stayed here? Why York? What is their day-to-day life struggles, and what do they want to do here?
Now, I know that most of the people that you have spoken to are Latino immigrants.
Yep.
And there's a tremendous amount of controversy about immigration from Spanish-speaking countries right now. You know, you have people that are like, oh, everyone that comes here, there's a lot of stereotypes. They're illegals and taking our jobs. And I mean, I've heard some really hateful language. I mean, just being real upfront with it. How do you deal with confronting some of the negative stereotypes? I mean, have people responded that way when they hear the kind of work that you do?
Not directly to me, but I have found out some of those stories with the people I'm interviewing. And the most important thing about it is that racism is based on ignorance. It is based on you're not being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. So in that ignorance, people start to make statement about it. And that's what I'm trying to fight again that ignorance, trying to put the stories behind the people, trying to see that it's the same. We're how do you say, flesh and skin and flesh?
We're all flesh and blood, or flesh and bone.
Exactly.
And underneath the same, and a lot of the struggles are very similar.
Exactly.
Now, I know that in this culture where people are afraid, they're worried about, deportation, or they're worried about harassment, they're worried about being discriminated against, it's got to be difficult to find people that are willing to speak to you. I mean, how are you able to convince people to let themselves be photographed or to give you an interview where they're willing to be open and honest with you?
That has been part of the struggle that I've been working on. And also because of I want them also to be secure that not on the information that is going to be revealed on the project is going to be something that they can hurt them after that.
Right.
So what I'm doing is I'm assure these people that after the photo shoot is done and after the interview is done, there's going to be some sort of post-production work to help themselves to keep the privacy of their names, but anyway trying to show the story. So that's why I brought this. It's like this is just fresh and new. I just baked them. So there's a couple of stories that I've been working on, a couple of pictures.
Amazing.
And
so now when these pictures were initially taken, it revealed people's faces, but then you use different styles of Photoshop,
Exactly.
different styles of computer augmentation to actually change the look and
Exactly.
protect the history. So what's the significance? Why choose the bandanas, and why choose the particular ways that you've altered individuals' faces that you have?
The bandanas is for a starter for give the person that I'm photo shooting the confidence about their privacy is gonna be still held. But after that, also is an ultimated also a symbol of people that cannot speak, or people that are afraid to speak, and maybe they are more hidden. So that's why it's a way to heal yourself also. So that's why I'm using this bandana, and I know it has some different stereotypes also, but that's what I'm trying to work against also, you know.
See, and I find that so interesting, because it is, when you see the covered face and you see the bandana, you know, you might think, oh, you know, that's what people do when they're criminals. That's what people do when they're coming in to, you know, rob a store or rob a bank. But in reality, what it does is it's someone with a mouth that is muffled. It's someone with a story that can't be told, and their lives are being defined by stereotypes, people making assumptions that immigrants are criminals, that immigrants are coming here to take advantage of the system, when in reality, I know I did a little bit of research around this, and some of the hardest working individuals in the country, people working without protections, without benefits of days off and health insurance and, you know, those medical safety precautions being taken in their work. Some of the most dangerous jobs in our country are being done by immigrants, by people coming here from other countries that are willing to work 12, 16-hour days, 7 days a week, in incredibly deplorable conditions.
Exactly.
And the idea that they're being viewed as criminals for doing this work that no one would absolutely dream of doing if they had the choice, and that it's for sending money to protect families, to care for wives and children, to help older parents or younger people. It's heartbreaking when you hear about where some of these individuals have come from.
Exactly.
And what the conditions were. I mean, even in this artwork, there's some quotes. And we have one young man, I mean, he's obviously working, you know, in a kitchen. And, you know, we're hot, we're working long hours. And he says, sometimes I wish I was deported so I could see my mother and little sisters again. That just, that hits me.
Yeah.
And
this person is the son of this other person on the other picture, and they came here because where they were born and raised, there's a big fight against gangs that control the cities. So the other person, the father, he went to play a soccer game, and he didn't know that he crossed a line, imaginary line for the gangs, to the other side of the town. And because of that, they were looking to kill him. So he, in 1 week, he prepared himself and his son to run away from the country, because he knew there was going to be a beautiful statement there. And they crossed through to the United States, and 1 week after, they were looking for him, and he knocked the door. They knocked his door, looking to kill him. So if he wouldn't be here right now, he wouldn't be alive here if he wouldn't be an immigrant. You know what I mean? So so now the son is struggling because he also misses his sister and his mother, but he cannot come back because he knows that the place where they used to live is really
the
dangerous.
gangs are ready to kill them if they go back. And we have had in America a really long-standing policy of being a place of refuge, that if you are in life danger, that we will offer asylum.
Exactly.
And yet, when we have individuals that are trying to come here through traditional channels and saying, you know, hey, I am in life danger, I am being attacked by gangs, by, you know, government officials from a corrupt government, my life is in danger, and yet our country is denying that asylum. And that's the only reason that a lot of these individuals are coming here without official documentation or through official channels. Because if they waited years to still be denied, they would be dead.
Exactly.
And when you're protecting your life, your children's lives, you make the decision that helps your children stay alive.
Exactly.
And that, you know, I think that's something that a lot of individuals in America are still struggling to understand, because we have so much safety here. You know, we have so much, even in our more challenged neighborhoods, we still have access to being able to go to school for free. We still have so many programs where we can get, you know, free or discounted food, places where we can get medical care, places where we can, you know, get rides or take public transportation. And we have no understanding of what it's like to be someplace where you can't go to school, you can't get clean water from a tap or a faucet, you cannot get any kind of medical care, and where people with police badges and machine guns are showing up at your doorstep to kill you. No trial, no investigation, no promise of fair anything.
Exactly.
I mean, there's no way to me that we can justify that being not someone seeking legitimate asylum, and yet we don't.
And it's really hard. It's really hard for them to get the asylum. For example, they are waiting and they're working on their mother and sister asylum here. As they say, it's going to be a couple of years, and it's getting worse and worse. So it is a really problematic thing that we have here, and that's why I'm trying to showcase these stories of people, like real people. And as you tell me, as you were saying, they don't have more, they don't have other alternatives. That's the only way. And if you talk with them, even though they have such a hard story, they're all the time laughing and telling jokes and having like a really, really hopeful life of life. And most of the people that I interviewed, most of them, even though they have a really struggling story, they always have a laugh or a smile to give you, you know, and they are willing to work a lot of hours. They are willing to sacrifice themselves for the family and for other friends, not only for family. Some people, they sometimes come and say, I have to bring someone, or I owe this amount of money because of the lawyers, and they get together and they join the money, and they start to make raffles or try to sell food between them. And there's like such a beautiful camaraderie, you know, a brotherhood that they had. And sometimes you see other Hispanics that have a little bit more of a privilege, and you see them being racist with ourselves. You know what I mean? And that's a really hard part of us, a really part of our culture right now, that we have to work on that. For example, I'm from Chile. There's Chilean and Peruvian doesn't get along very well, or Puerto Rican and Dominican, and there's a lot of little difference. And I say, if we're a lot of people here, we are a lot of Hispanic people. We come from different places, but we all have more in common than different. We should get together more to help and protect these kind of people, the people that need help. So that's what I'm trying to do also, to get us together and forget the difference. I mean, most of them are fights or wars that have been 100 or 200 years. It doesn't worth it.
That's so true. I mean, I know that in Pennsylvania, we have long memories here. You know, so many people have families that go back hundreds of years. So I feel like that's something that people from here can understand. You have a tremendous amount of pride in where you came from, a tremendous amount of pride in your family, but at the same time, the world is changing.
Yep.
And people are moving and new things are happening, and it's okay to be different, to celebrate your difference, to be proud of your heritage, but also to find the ways in which we're similar and the ways in which we can come together. And I love this artwork. I'm going to borrow this right here. We have another one. There are so many different ways that you found to show how sort of amazingly diverse these individuals are. I mean, we actually brought, I like this, the head of Albert Einstein on the body of an immigrant, because Albert Einstein was not American.
Exactly.
He traveled extensively throughout the world, and we hold up his knowledge here. We hold up his discoveries. So we have a long history of recognizing the wisdom and the talent that other cultures and other countries can bring us.
Absolutely.
And this idea that certain cultures, certain countries, they have wisdom that's worth studying, and then other countries don't. That doesn't make sense to me either. And I love how this is almost like a comic book, classic All-American. Well, what's more All-American than people escaping persecution, coming to America
Absolutely.
in search of a better life? Truthfully, besides our Native American brothers and sisters, every person that is here, that's why they are here.
Exactly.
Barring the complicated struggle of African Americans who were brought here not by choice. Everyone who chose to be here, who came to America because they wanted to be here, it was because they believed in a better future, but also because they were being persecuted back home.
Exactly.
It wasn't just, let's go on a trip. It was, I am escaping from something, whether it's poverty, whether it's famine, whether it's political or religious persecution. So this idea of, using the red, white, and blue, using the American symbols, using the American flag, using the modern technology, posing against the background of the Capitol and, sort of the center of democracy. I mean, there are so many little things, and that's also what I love about the work in Immigrant Camera, is that there are a ton of little details and symbolism in each picture. It's not just, here's a photograph. It's here's a story that is in a photograph. Here's a story of a person, but also here's a story of a country. Here's a story of a movement. And I think you've done such a phenomenal job. And now people can absolutely, if they want to support, if they want to share a story, if they're interested in scheduling a showing, or if they want to be able to have an exhibit or have Alfredo come and speak and talk about his own experiences and stories, contacting him through Immigrant Camera is an amazing way to bring Alfredo and to bring his work into the community. Because you have been here in America for how long?
Only 3 years.
And already in 3 years, you have created such a success story and such a network through hard work and positivity.
Yeah, I mean, it's the land of liberty. It's the land of opportunities. And most of the time it is. Most of the time, most of American people that I have ever met, they are welcoming. There are people that give you the opportunity to speak. I mean, this is a perfect example of that. But there are some others, and there are some others that sometimes have more media coverage that can say something else. But the idea is that we get together and celebrate immigration as it is. I mean, I don't know if I have written something back on the shoot. I don't know if it's too much of a problem for that.
No, turn around.
But that's a poem. That's a
That's right, on the Statue of Liberty.
On the Statue of Liberty.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
I mean, that's America. That's America. That's what I have been able to experience this only 3 years here, and I want to demonstrate to everyone that that's the truly sense of America, of North America, of the United States of America. That is what it's made of, and we have to keep on working on that, and don't let the negativity come to us, because that only give us fear, and when we are fear, we don't move. We stay static. We have to move. We have to show that we are more, that love is more, there are more compassion, and there are more people willing to help than to discriminate. So that's what we have to do.
I don't think there's anything that is more American than that. Thanks for joining us on another amazing episode of Spotlight, a production of Culture in Maine, York's cultural showcase. We want to hear your ideas, and we want you to be a part of the show. Whether you're an artist or a fan, send us an email to cultureinmaine@gmail.com. Check us out on the web at wrct.tv, or make sure to find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/White Rose Community TV. Thanks again for joining us, and have a great week. We'll see you soon, right here on the corner of Culture in Maine.